Hello, CraftyAndy here, and these are my thoughts. America's collapse imminent. There is a recent video coming around involving a Starbucks worker breaking down in the break room. I'm going to at least give him the courtesy here and blur out his face.
People wonder why we need a union at Starbucks, and I am literally about to quit. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but, like, I really want to. I almost walked out today, and I'm crying in the back room right now, and I almost cried on the floor. It's just, I'm like a full-time student. I get scheduled for 25 hours a week, and on weekends they schedule me the entire day, open to close. I'm on the schedule for 8.5 hours, both Saturday and Sunday. I'm like 3.5 hours into my shift. There's so many customers, and we have 4 people on the floor all day. Only 5 people were put on the schedule, and somebody had to call out. And there are 4 people running the whole store, and there's so many customers, and there's possibly scheduled 5 people. We only have 13 people employed at this store, and there's so many customers. And we don't have fair scheduling. Managers don't care about us. Our manager was supposed to come in this weekend, and he took himself off the schedule, so he wouldn't be able to be held accountable for calling out. He just literally tore down the schedule that he was scheduled on and put up a new schedule where he wasn't on the schedule. Also, he couldn't have even seen that he was scheduled in the first place because he didn't want to be held accountable for not wanting to come in. They don't want to help us. We need a union because this can't happen. This can't happen. We need fair scheduling. We need managers to hold themselves accountable for helping their workers. They refuse to turn mobile orders off. We need the liberty to be able to do that because there's so many mobile orders and I need to get through all of them. And then people are yelling at me because I don't have their orders ready and they don't know what to do. And a customer was misgendering me today, like, really badly. I didn't have their order ready. And so they were just, like, talking to each other. And they're like, she's clearly incompetent. I have a full mustache and beard. What the fuck? I don't get accommodations for being neurodivergent. I don't... Like, I can't use... people get mad at me for using my sick time. I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm, like, at my wit's end with this job. I really am.
Now, if you didn't catch all that, the pussy manager decided that they were not going to work that day, and even made it so that it didn't look like they were even on the schedule to begin with. On top of this guy's work schedule, he has 25 hours of classes to attend, and I imagine there is homework involved with that too. Some of the comments on this have been rather interesting. We have a generation of weak, fragile, spoiled, narcissistic, emotional, insecure people, completely unable to handle adversity, conflict, masculinity, or anything that challenges their own self-image. Basically, they are children inhabiting adult bodies. Yes, the printer has his thumb on the real button here.
I feel sorry for this generation. We worked 70 to 80 hours a week. We didn't break, we buckled down and did it. We did our crying over a drink and then got back to work the next day because we knew there was nothing we could do about it. For however long it took, we raised a generation of quitters and moaners. Yes, how dare you complain about our current conditions? How dare you demand an improvement? How dare you? You should just shut up and take it in the fucking ass and then drink your worries away. Just get drunk instead. Instead of doing any kind of constructive, motivational work and trying to improve the world that we live in, you should just give up, roll over, and go back to fucking sleep.
Do I have sympathy for this young, spoiled kid? No. At 17, I was overseas with an M16, 12-hour days, or around the clock, bad food, bad weather, dangerous conditions. Some of the best times I can remember in friendships that have lasted a lifetime. Grow up, kid. Yes, the best times being overseas in the Middle East. I'm sure there's a lot of soldiers that came home that share the exact same sentiment and memories as you do. Laughs in the form of a hospice nurse with on-call duty. This is not a flex. It kinda is. She saves lives day and night, even when she's tired. Yes, those hospice nurses, always known for working overtime and saving lives. Sniveling waste of space. Oh, is that you? Right there, storming the Beaches of Normandy? Is that you in that picture? Quit and go work on a construction site like I did when I was 16 years old. Ah yes, 16 years instead of figuring out what you like to do with your life and your hobbies and interests, potentially finding a career path that's more fulfilling. You were forced to work at 16 and suffer, therefore everyone else should have to suffer the same fate you did. Wait until they see all the taxes and deductions taken from his paycheck. Ah yes, that's what he should be concerned about, not how much his CEO is making every month, or rather every hour compared to him. That's the country's problem right now. They want max pay with minimum time and effort put into the job. Well, how hard is it to be a CEO, I wonder? How hard is it to work as a CEO of a company or a landlord who's in charge of one of these sprawling apartment complexes? Lazy and spoiled. I'm a supervisor at a dermatology clinic working 7:30 to 6 Monday through Friday because we are short-staffed. I'm salaried too, so I get no overtime, but do it to lead by example. And we hope staff won't burn out. Ah yes, so you're an exploited worker, you're abused, and you're proud of it. Welcome to the restaurant industry. Do you know how many shifts I work taking 14 tables at once because people didn't show up to work? If you can't deal with working an 8-hour day consecutively under stress, you ain't gonna make it in the real world. Doesn't mind being fucked in the ass by being overworked. How much does the boss make? How much does the franchise owner make, or the corpo owner make, compared to you? And how much work do they do, I wonder? You ever think of that one? All these people dunking on this guy because he's willing to actually complain about how he's getting fucked by a billion-dollar company. It's true when Henry Rollins said, "It seems when you show a part of yourself that is the least bit vulnerable, someone takes advantage of you. One of them steps on you." First of all, how come no one is talking about the pussy manager that is mentioned in this video, who wrote themselves out of the schedule so it looked like they were not even supposed to be there to begin with? Who's the bigger pussy here? Someone who records themselves and then throws their well-being to the everlasting mercy of the internet when it comes to their grievances? Or the manager who pieced out so they could avoid a hard day's work altogether? There's a need to preface this next part by saying this is not a flex. This is not a flex, but an effort to curtail any knee-jerk reactions that might come my way trying to label me as some lazy ass. I've been working jobs since I was 18. Blockbuster, Star Theater, Blockbuster again, Kroger, Best Buy, AV Tech, Walmart, Lumber Mill, Family Dollar, insurance sales, machine tech, door-to-door sales, a bank call center.
I've been on the phone since 6 o'clock my time. That's 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that, sir.
No, you're not. If you were sorry, you'd fucking do something.
There was times I was working 60 hours a week as an insurance commissioned-only salesperson. Worked Walmart at night and then a lumber mill in the morning. Worked an AV tech job and stocked shelves at Kroger at the same time while going to college myself. And even briefly worked at Best Buy all at the same time too. There was a time where I had to walk to work and walk from work, which took 2 hours each way, rain or shine. Currently, today, on top of the full-time job that pays the bills, I do freelance art commissions, personal art projects, video editing, writing, performing, and promoting, which essentially means I'm working 2 full-time jobs and one doesn't pay well, if at all. Of course, one doesn't feel like a job to me. A work of passion is life-fulfilling, while working for a faceless franchise or corporation that you have no stake in ownership in is life-draining. We can only afford the place that we are living in currently because we have 3 incomes, no pets, and no kids. But wait, I forgot one thing. Usually during the work week, there's still the typical chores that need to be done. Making and eating food, doing dishes, laundry, managing the bills, checking finances, messages, emails. Then there is the commute to work itself and sleep. So I'm lucky to roughly get around 2 to 3 hours of free time to work on the things I am actually interested in. Just because I do all that and did all that before doesn't mean that should be the standard. That's nice that you're able to work 12 to 14-hour shifts as a nurse or go on military expeditions. Fantastic, amazing, great job. I'd rather dress up in army gear and drop from a helicopter than have to deal with annoying soul-sucking customers any day, especially since I don't have the right to punch them in the face like I do if I were an army soldier or a cop. It's amazing to me, the amount of people here revealing how many hours they work as if it's a good thing, not even questioning the why or how. Of course, when you have no free time, there's no time for such thinking.
For those hoping to get ahead of the work week, look no further than Overtime Plus, a new app that lets you work for your company even while you sleep. The app doesn't just keep you mentally shackled to your day job, but also serves as an alarm clock by repeatedly shouting you're late for work until you're jolted out of bed in a panic each morning.
Some places require many hours of work. Sure, I understand that. Coffee shops by billion-dollar companies, is not one of them. The country won't collapse if a store closes early due to staff shortage. This all feeds into the reality of there not needing to be a 40-hour work week, and something that should be abolished, along with the unnecessary office buildings too while we're at it. Plenty of work can be done from home, and in fact, when people were dragged back to their offices against their will after pandemic restrictions were prematurely lifted, productivity fell by huge numbers. If the work can be done from home, it should be done from home. We don't need to be wasting energy and dwindling resources for sterile, dreary, and spirit-draining environments. At least until they force employees into working within the metaverse.
Did you see that asshole? Mark Zuckerberg's coming in here with his trademark jeans in the metaverse. He's got legs. He's got his little stompers going on. This is groundbreaking. What an achievement. They're finally catching up to technology that's been around for fucking 8 years now.
The 8-hour workday standard was something workers had to fight and even die for to begin with. The 40-hour work week wasn't even meant to be a forever thing either, and it's actually a bigger waste in resources and time because many people get their shit done in far less time than 8 hours.
A recent study showed that most people only spend about 45% of their time at work doing their main job duties. The other 40% of workers' time was spent dealing with meetings, administrative tasks, and interruptions. And a whopping 14% is spent sending, responding to, or sorting email each week. If you're doing the math, that leaves 1%, which I assume is people scrolling their phone in the bathroom. Not exactly cutting-edge productivity.
Today we're going to be talking about PowerPoint.
But the way things are now, it's the only way to get any kind of worthwhile benefits. Any company not required to will not give you anything. All the while, even the full-time job benefits are eventually chipped away in order to find that maximum profit and worker cost balance. Do I dare to even watch any videos dunking on this guy? Let's try a few and see what my pure reactions are.
Lord help us. This is how soft today's generation is. Can you imagine this person's parent right now?
Black Conservative 24. My guess is his name is Black Conservative 24 because black conservatives come off an assembly line like the agents in Hitman. Though instead of taking out political targets and crime lords, he's here sniping at people on the internet who dare complain about shit working conditions on top of trying to go to school in order to try and better themselves. If we were in the 1800s, this guy would be mocking people complaining about company town conditions. Next, the Patriot Twins.
Dude is having a tough time at
That ain't
Starbucks.
a dude, that's a female, man. Stop oh, that's right, he wants to be a dude.
Yeah, he's got...
I mean, she wants to be a dude.
Yeah, you complaining about being misgendered. You signed up for that.
Really? That's what you signed up for? These two women say being misgendered is what they signed up for.
I can't believe... I mean, if I was at work recording a video about my workplace like this, they would fire me on the spot.
A company that would fire you over a mental crisis, recording yourself in the back room for a few minutes, if that wasn't even his break. That sounds like a really shitty company. But I guess you like licking corporate boots though, right? Just slobber all over it. Oh, it tastes so good, all these boots. Let me clean them all off for you. And this coming from a couple of chicks that I bet never sweat doing their current job. All they do is get to repeat a script someone else writes for them. Next we have Matt Walsh, who looks like someone that should be brewing my fucking coffee right now. But I'm just kidding. No one should give a shit about what Matt Walsh has to say about anything. Michael Knowles.
I know very few people who can get by working just 8 hours a day, or even who want to only work 8 hours a day.
Is their home life that shitty? Is the pay that shitty? Is it a combination of the two? How many working jobs do people like to stick around longer than 8 hours for? Unless they have to.
I'm being told, by the way, by the producers that the video is of a woman who I guess is taking hormones, and it was a little tough to tell because it's so zoomed in tight on her face that you can't quite get a picture of the whole body and height and everything to see what sex she is.
Wow, she just couldn't help herself, couldn't she? This girl unwittingly started off giving this guy the dignity of being called the gender they identify as, until supposedly being corrected by a producer, and then goes off on to misgender them like the little bitch that she is.
This woman should be very thankful to Starbucks for presenting her with hardship and giving her an opportunity to mature, to stop complaining. Stop complaining. It is such a gift and for everybody in life to face hardship and then not complain.
I'll say this. Working in insurance commission sales presented me and my husband a lot of hardship. It was a hardship we endured, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, despite what discipline it kind of taught me when it comes to my own work, productivity, and producing. For an entire year, though, it was a struggle with affording utilities, car repairs. It was a job that had me driving 100 miles to reach appointments 3 to 4 days out of a week. And for a month, I couldn't afford car insurance on the vehicle I was driving in a Michigan winter. If I were to get into an accident during that time, I would have lost my license until I managed to pay off a $5,000 minimum fine, assuming I don't go to jail for it too. I have a feeling that there are better ways to get the work discipline I have now than to throw myself into a situation that could have left me destitute and eventually homeless if luck wasn't on my side. This woman telling me that this guy should be thankful to Starbucks for treating him and his coworkers like pieces of shit.
Suffer in silence and cultivate a spirit of resignation.
Yeah, stop complaining. Don't ever question the conditions you are forced to work in. Just bend over and take it. I'm sure if this woman woke up one day and had her benefits cut with no health insurance, investments, and paid vacation time, she'd just be like, whoop, that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boy, I hope I don't find any videos on here of you complaining about YouTube's TOS or anything like that. Oh, what's this?
YouTube has demonetized our pal Steven Crowder's channel and declared all-out war on conservatives. This is the most significant change in the character of the internet since YouTube first came online 14 years ago.
Excuse me, miss. What happened to the virtue of not complaining over hardship? You should be thanking YouTube for giving you an opportunity to receive the gift of being able to face hardship and not complain. Alright, so maybe this guy is weak-willed. Maybe he's not cut out for long hours being shouted at by strangers for lattes. So fucking what? So be it then if that's what it takes to spark discussions and ideas involving work reform. It'd especially be nice to stop treating our shrinking workforce of doctors and nurses like it's heroic to have a 14-hour non-stop workday. All the while, more of them quit over the lack of pay, student loan debt, and the bullshit they have to hear from patients. And instead maybe treat it like it is. Abuse. Exploitation. About him being trans, it's not even a fucking factor in this case, though it is for everyone else who likes to bring this guy up. It wouldn't matter what skin color or gender or orientation they are, because anyone who's worked retail, customer service, or any of these long hours or overtime without pay, they should know better than to jump on the bandwagon of this dog pile. It's why I even decided to write this up, because all these cum-sock taffers couldn't help themselves. I originally saw this video, made a few responses, and then moved on until I saw the flood of videos coming out shitting all over him. The people responding with how they work grueling hours with no respite are just admitting that unlike this trans male, they take the corporate cock all the time, every day, and don't complain. That's the only difference here. These people have been fucked in the ass by the corpo owners so much they've grown numb to it. They want to talk about weakness when really they are so weak they'll put up with exploitive working conditions and hours because of the fear of poverty dangling over their heads. They'll keep taking that cock until the cum runneth over. It makes sense too when you pair this up with the rhetoric being used against the United States public school system these days. They call them indoctrination centers while promoting grants to religious private schools. They get up in arms about teachers teaching them the reality that queer people exist, but have no problem with teaching their kids about the imaginary God friend in the sky who will send them to hell after they die unless they get with the program. The owner class in this country don't want smart people. The billionaires who own all the food processing, entertainment, and land don't want citizens having opportunities to improve their knowledge. It works against their interests. The billionaires and millionaires who can afford to send their children to private schools while the budgets for the public sector get stripped away more and more simply want obedient workers. They want people just smart enough to run the machines, but just dumb enough not to question the longer hours, lower pay, shrinking benefits, and the 401k put in place of a pension. Let's also not forget the contractors who are set up to not receive any benefits, no sick days, and can be let go at a moment's notice. If a abused working population gets too intelligent, they'll start to realize just how futile their born existence is, and next thing you know, you have to install nets to catch the potential workers throwing themselves off ledges like they have to do in China. Who would have thought that people wouldn't get a sense of pride and fulfillment working endless hours screwing together iPhones for food allowance money? And what would a lot of these restaurants and retail stores do if they were no longer keen on the idea of the owners of places like Walmart having enough wealth to potentially solve the homeless crisis in a lot of major cities? The next thing that comes up often, I imagine, would be, what about the people who were forced to work 20-hour work shifts in the coal mines and have no sick leave, time off, and were paid in company script? Well, you know what would happen then? Those people eventually got sick of the bullshit and would hold mines hostage and threaten to destroy it unless their union demands were met. And oftentimes the response was privately funded and government-backed armed fatal response. Which does bring up a good point. Since it would be a PR nightmare for a corporation to do such a thing today, there is even more incentive for workers in places like Starbucks and especially Amazon to not only unionize, but hold these fucking warehouses hostage until they give in to worker demands. What is Jeff Bezos' empire without workers, eh? Let's not forget sweatshops, child slave labor, harvesting cocoa beans, and diamond mines. Try working there, buddy. Look what they do in India. I can prove this is a fucking stupid argument once again with my completely flawless logic. First of all, you don't care about sweatshop and slave workers. No one does, outside of virtue signaling comments online. If you all did, then there would be some kind of pressure for these companies to improve working conditions for their foreign workforces and have manufacturing jobs make a comeback to the United States. It's not happening. It's just lip service politicians use to win elections and look like they care about everyday working people. Hate to break it to you, they don't care. And once any of these slave workers come together and fight back, the companies will simply close up shop and move to some other desperate third world country. The other truth of the matter is that when you're born and raised in one of these countries, all you'll ever know is working on the line with little to no education from the moment you can actually turn a wrench. So how about we don't use worse conditions in other places as a comparison when there are so many other places that operate far better than our own? I'm sure there are more in-depth layouts, but let's just point to one example. Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Poland, and Ireland are all required to have 20 days paid vacation. That's 20 days off of work, paid vacation. Once again, props to this guy for filming themselves at a vulnerable moment. I know crying on camera is especially cringy. I'm sure they don't realize the bullshit they set themselves up for and the harassment campaign that's following them at this very moment, I imagine. That's besides the point of what shit like this draws attention to and reveals to us who are the boot-licking corpo leg humpers that are perpetuating the conditions where there are people working multiple jobs to make ends meet, and sometimes not even that. Abolish the 40-hour work week and the 8-hour work day. These are just my thoughts, though. Comment me ideas for topics and art, subscribe, like, and share. Patreon for early videos and artwork. Art prints are for sale along with other merch at the online store link. Weirdzore's channel for some real weird stuff. Pause Off for gaming highlights from the Pause Off Live on twitch.tv. CraftyAndy Hangouts for art and video making live streams. Discord group under the title Horny Jail Alliance where you can interact with me and other creators. That's it, now get out of here!